How did ancient Egyptians heal? Uncover the secrets of their medicine. Hey there. Ever wonder how ancient Egyptians stayed healthy? From magic to medicine, let's dive into their secrets. We'll explore how priests healed, what remedies they used, and even how they took care of teeth. Get ready for a journey through the world of Egyptian medicine. So, how did ancient Egyptians handle health issues? Well, they believed in a mix of magic and medicine. Priests were like the doctors and healers, using spells and prayers to treat illnesses. They thought diseases were caused by angry gods or bad spirits, so their remedies often included offerings and charms. It was a bit like having a witch doctor around. Also, they had some pretty cool herbal remedies for common stuff like headaches and toothaches. It's amazing how they figured things out with the tools they had. So what's this Heka thing? Well, it was like the ancient Egyptian version of magic or witchcraft. They believed that the gods had given them special powers to heal and protect people. Heka was both a force for good and an explanation for everything they didn't understand about medicine. Priests would use Heka in their healing rituals, combining it with prayers and spells to banish evil spirits and restore balance. It's kind of like having a superpower that lets you cure anything just by waving your hands. Isn't that wild? Now let's talk about priest healers. These were like the all-in-one superheroes of ancient Egypt. They not only performed religious duties, but also took care of people's health. Priests had special knowledge about herbs and potions that could ease pain or fight infections. They even knew how to do basic surgeries using tools made from things like flint and copper. It's pretty amazing, right? But remember, they still believed strongly in magic too. So if someone was sick, the priest might first try a prayer or charm before giving them any medicine. It's like having a doctor who also does magic tricks. Isn't that cool? All right, so how did ancient Egyptians keep all this medical knowledge around? Well, they used something called papyri. These were long strips of plant material, like reeds, that they wrote on using special black ink made from carbon. It's kind of like a really old version of paper. The most famous medical text is called the Edwin Smith Papyrus, which dates back to around 1600 BCE. This papyrus is like an ancient doctor's notebook full of remedies for all sorts of injuries and illnesses. They even had sections on things like treating fractures and setting bones. It's incredible how they recorded their knowledge so carefully, kind of like how you might write down your favorite recipes or tips for a game. Isn't it amazing to think that some of the same ideas used by ancient Egyptian doctors are still around today? All right, so what were some of the daily medicines used by ancient Egyptians? Well, they had a really cool remedy for toothaches. They would chew on aromatic plants like frankincense and myrrh. These are those same scents you might smell at a fancy church or in perfume stores today. It's funny how they figured out that something so fragrant could help with pain. For headaches, they used a mix of willow bark and garlic. Willow bark is actually where we get aspirin from today. Pretty amazing, right? They also had a recipe for something called Empedocles water, which was like an early version of mouthwash. It used ingredients like vinegar, water, and herbs to freshen breath and fight bad smells in the mouth. And if someone got a skin infection, they would use a paste made from honey and natron, a type of salt. Honey has natural antibacterial properties, so it's no wonder they found it helpful. It's incredible how many of their remedies are still used today, just in different forms. Isn't that wild? Ancient Egyptians had some really smart ideas for taking care of their health. Now let's talk about surgery in ancient Egypt. Believe it or not, they were pretty good at it. Priests would perform surgeries using tools made from things like flint, copper, and even animal bones. They had techniques for dealing with fractures, abscesses, and even amputations. One of their coolest tools was called the corkscrew, which they used to remove foreign objects stuck in the body. It's amazing how they could do these procedures without modern medicine. And guess what? They were also pretty good at anesthesia. They would use a mixture of herbs like fennel and mandrake root to put patients to sleep during operations. So if someone needed surgery, they wouldn't even feel it. Isn't that wild? Ancient Egyptians had some really advanced surgical techniques for their time. So, how did ancient Egyptians keep their teeth healthy? Well, they had some pretty cool practices. They believed that good oral hygiene was important for overall health. They used a toothbrush made from twigs with frayed ends, kind of like a chew stick. And guess what? They even had toothpaste. It wasn't the minty stuff we use today, though. Their paste was made from crushed burnt eggshells, pumice, a volcanic rock, and ashes. It's wild to think that they figured out how to clean their teeth with such basic materials. But it worked, and their teeth were often quite well preserved in mummies. They also had a special recipe for a mouthwash made from vinegar, water, and herbs like coriander and mint. It must have smelled pretty good too, and if someone got tooth decay or gum disease, they would use a mixture of honey and natron to fight the infection. Honey has natural antibacterial properties, so it's no wonder they found it helpful. They even had braces. Archaeologists found remains of people with metal bands around their teeth used to straighten them. So the next time you brush your teeth, remember that ancient Egyptians were way ahead of us in dental care. Isn't that amazing? All right, so let's talk about herbal medicine. The ancient Egyptians were huge fans of using plants to heal all sorts of ailments. They had a deep understanding of the natural world and believed that many herbs had special healing properties. For example, they used willow bark for pain relief. Turns out it has ingredients similar to what's in aspirin today. They also loved using garlic, which they thought could boost energy and treat infections. And don't forget about coriander and mint. These weren't just yummy spices. They were also used to freshen breath and ease stomach issues. One really cool remedy was a mixture called Empedocles water, made with vinegar, water, and herbs like parsley and fennel. It's like an ancient version of mouthwash. They even had special teas made from plants like chamomile for relaxation and sleep. These Egyptians were pretty savvy at using nature to keep themselves healthy. Isn't it amazing how they figured things out without modern medicine? Nature really is the ultimate healer. All right, so what about mummies? You know, those preserved bodies of ancient Egyptians. Well, they had special medicine just for preparing folks for the afterlife. Mummification was a big deal. They believed that if your body wasn't preserved well, you wouldn't have a good journey to the next world. So, they used herbs and oils like frankincense and myrrh to help keep bodies from decaying too quickly. They also removed internal organs and stuffed them with special materials like sawdust and spices. It's kind of like packing your favorite teddy bear for a long trip. And guess what? They even treated the brain separately because they thought it was important for thinking in the afterlife. They would remove it through the nose and then dry it out. So while we might not be too excited about mummification today, ancient Egyptians were pretty innovative when it came to keeping their bodies ready for eternity. Isn't that fascinating? It's like they had a whole medical system just for preparing people to live forever. So how did ancient Egyptian medicine influence our modern world? Well, it turns out a lot. For instance, the Edwin Smith Papyrus, one of their oldest medical texts, has information on treating fractures and infections that's still relevant today. They even had early forms of anesthesia using plants like mandrake root to help patients sleep through operations. And don't forget about their use of willow bark for pain relief. Scientists later discovered it contains a compound similar to aspirin. Their dental care techniques, including using twigs as toothbrushes and crushed eggshells as toothpaste, paved the way for modern oral hygiene practices. The ancient Egyptians were also pioneers in surgical tools and procedures, with corkscrews used to remove foreign objects from the body. So next time you take an aspirin or brush your teeth, remember, ancient Egypt might have had a hand in making it possible. Isn't it amazing how much we owe these ancient healers? Wow. Egyptian medicine was pretty advanced for their time. From magic to herbal remedies, they figured out a lot. Next time you're sick, maybe try some ancient Egyptian advice, like chewing frankincense for a toothache. Thanks for joining us on this journey through history. Stay curious and keep exploring.